Hey everyone, it's good to be back. I've got a game here from Amsterdam 1920, Max Euwe versus Richard Reti. Max Euwe's white, and he was 18 at the time, whilst Reti was about 31. And it's just a demonstration of how maybe the young players can get a bit excitable. And if I was white in this game, I'd be thinking, how did I lose? Because I had such great development, I had a nice attack going, but still managed to get dispatched by a more experienced player. So let's take a look. Euwe plays e4 and Reti plays e5. Got knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, and now d4, the Max Lang attack. This is declaring his intention to fight in the centre. So e takes d4, and now castles. And black kindly accepts his pawn that white has offered on e4. So knight takes e4, but at the same time now, look at white's development. They've got the rook out, the knight, the bishop, and the queen, all for the sake of two pawns at the moment. So if I was white, I'd be thinking, okay, I've got some great development here, and I like the position. But d5, so this attacks the bishop, and also defends the knight. A simple enough move. So Euwe here decides to take on d5, queen takes, and now knight c3. So white has just sacrificed a piece for the attack, and also attacking e4 and the queen with the knight at the same time. The rook is also attacking the knight, and it can't take on c3 because the queen will take on d5. So black's forced to play queen a5. And here white decides to recapture a pawn. Knight takes d4, knight takes d4, and queen takes d4. So now we've got three pieces attacking this knight, and maybe we're even threatening to play f3, but not yet, because the bishop on c5 could potentially pin us. So here black plays the only move, f5, defending the knight on e4. White can't play f3 just because if we do, the bishop on c5 will win the queen. It's pinning the queen against the king. So after f5, Euwe decides to play bishop to g5, maybe threatening queen to d8 check. Reti decides to play queen c5 and allows the check on d8, possibly realising it doesn't actually do anything. So queen d8, king f7, and now black is actually threatening f2 with the queen, so white decides to take on e4. After f takes, rook a d1. This is quite an interesting position, just because visually it looks like Euwe's pieces are all splendidly placed. Look at this leading development. The king for black is on f7. The two rooks are bearing down on the centre. The bishop's out, and what black has no development. So I'd be thinking as white here, how would I lose this game, even though I am a piece down? Now here, Reti plays bishop d6, and I think this is a good move. He hands back some material to ease the position. So white here is forced to take the rook on h8 because it's attacked. And here black simply just takes on g5. And now we've got two bishops for the rook. And black's position does look a bit better. The only problem is the rook on a8 is still undeveloped, and so is the bishop. Here Euwe plays f4, and if the queen takes that, rook f1 will pin the queen, so we can't take it. Now you can potentially take it with the bishop, however rook d8 does look quite scary. I think this is okay for black still though, but instead of taking the pawn, Reti opts to play queen h4. And now this looks really good for Euwe, surely. Rook takes e4. Look at these two rooks coming into the game. But no, Reti comes up with a genius move. He plays bishop to h3, and now the rook is attacking the queen. So this is forced. Queen has to take on a8, and now Reti comes up with a good combination. Bishop c5 check. The king is forced to h1, because if he goes to f1, it'll be checkmate. So goes to king h1, and now we come up with another sacrifice. Bishop takes g2, forced to take it. Queen g4 check, and now king h1 would lead to queen f3 mate, and now she has to go king f1, queen f3 anyway, and then king e1, followed by queen f2 checkmate, and it's all over. Was there thinking, how the hell did he lose that game? And this is the main point. Everything could look good visually. Look at this position here. We had 2 rooks. I'll go back even further. So after f takes e4, look at this. You're thinking, as white, I've got the perfect position. I may be a piece down, but I've got great attacking potential here. And yet we still managed to lose. So what do we learn here? We learn that successful attacks against the king win the game. And unfortunately for white, his attack just wasn't successful enough against the black king. Thank you for watching, everyone.